than look at it. But it's just, you can do it out of a bunch of different stuff, okay? Now, this was our deal last year, okay? So we should have called it more. How many times you guys look at your breakdowns at the end of the year, and completion percentage is high, and the efficiency's high, and the yards per catch is high, and all that, and you say, geez, why didn't I run it more, right? So that's always the trick. There's a bunch of good plays out there, and there's a bunch of good things that you can run. It's pretty much more about, what are you comfortable calling, okay? The thing at the bottom there, the critical downs there right there, 10 to 12, I mean, that's high efficiency stuff, okay? And again, I just think it's something that it's pretty good based on being able to execute what you got. All right, so we have kind of changed how we coach it. Usually, like, we would just call like mesh on both sides. Okay, it used to be 92, or with Hal right here, it would be 92. Okay, and if you just signaled 92, everybody knew what to do. Well, that's easy when it's like 20 personnel or whether it's 10 personnel. What makes that thing really difficult is when you start adding tight ends. Okay, and tight ends are hard to find. Has anybody got a tight end? Anybody got one I can recruit? Because those guys are hard to find. And the one that we had two tight ends last year. They were both pretty good. One's at the Senior Bowl right now. He's playing today. 6'4", 270, and can run pretty good. So anytime you have those guys, you got to get into different personnel groupings, and that would be a 3 or 4 hour conversation trying to figure out how to call things based on that. I used to think these NFL guys are all, just way too complicated and all that, but the reason is it gets a little harder when you start adding tight ends and you start adding fullbacks and all that. It becomes pretty wordy. That's why the NFL was ahead of the curve when they got that little microphone, and they say the whole thing to the quarterback in his ear, which I think college football is probably 2 years away from being able to do that as well. But that makes it a lot harder, I didn't call the offense for the last 2 years. Hired Jake Spavataw to come in. Did a great job for me. He's head coach at Texas State now. But really did a good job. It allowed me to be able to do other things within the program, whether it's, raise money or, recruit a little bit better or get to know the defense or special teams. That was all really, really, really good for me. So I didn't call it for 2 years. And within the last 2 years, we recruited 3 or 4 tight ends. So our offense has evolved. And I sat in those offensive meetings all the time and was, checking off on things left and right. And then when Jake took the job December 1st, I'm like, yeah, I got this. I call it. It's no problem. I've called offenses for 15, 20 years. 2 things happen. Okay, one, I'm sitting there going, how do I line these guys up? Because it's not as easy as ace, early, or late. All right, which is a staple with the air raid for years and years and years. Now you gotta get into 11 personnel and 12 personnel and line these tight ends up and everything. So that was a challenge to me. And then I looked at that play sheet, which was like this big, and I go, oh no, I can't read it. So do I put those glasses on like you're wearing, or do I make a Denny's menu? I wasn't ready for the world to see me with the glasses, so I got a big sheet, I got a big sheet, but it was wordy, so it took me like a minute to call a play, and I'm getting flags left and right and all that, so we're still working through all that, all right? But anyway, back to the point, if it's like 10 personnel or 20 personnel, it's really easy. You call mesh, and everybody knows what to do. But when you start lining up these other guys involved with it, then it makes it a little bit tough. I spent years trying to figure out the mesh drill. And we've done everything from slapping hands to rubbing shoulders, reading man and zone. I'm taking a lot of that stuff off of it. Okay, so basically it's mesh on one side and it's shallow on the other side. Okay, we ran shallows forever. Shallows make sense. You get flat, chase the heels of the D-line, come down the line of scrimmage, and you're you're hitting it and getting it, you know. So we kind of combine the two of them, which has really worked out pretty good. So mesh to the one side, okay, right here on your screen right there, I think it's to the left side. The left side is mesh, okay? So if I signal mesh to the left side, that's the guy that's setting the depth, okay? And his rule is to get about 5-6 yards and run, all right? They figured out about halfway into the year that if they're the mesh guy, they're not getting the ball, okay? They figured that out, which, you know, that's good for them. But they're just setting the depth and they're running, and they're not stopping, okay? The next guy outside of them has got the sit route. It's probably the biggest difference with what we used to do with mesh and what we're currently doing with it is the outside guy is going to sit, because that's your zone answer. He's never going to get the ball in man, but that's 100% your zone answer. What I really liked about it is the back is the first read. Everything that we did from 90 to 91 to 92, 93, 94, sail, 95 cross, 96 curls, this big staple in this offense right here, the back's always a check down. So defenses don't cover the back. They say just let the guy go out there and then we'll rally to it and tackle it for 4 yards and everything will be fine. This right here gets the ball to the back right now. First read, back's open, put it on them, okay? Second read is the opposite side. So the opposite side is shallow, okay? So if you signal mesh over here to this side and the shallow guy's coming from the other side, if it's inside shallow guy, this right here would be Y shallow. I could signal Z shallow, all right? So if you're not the shallow guy, then you're the hot route, all right? So you're the vertical guy. If there's any kind of trouble, if it's man coverage, then quarterback goes to the vertical route right now. If not, gets the ball, it's back to shallow, plays over unless it's zone, and they pass things off, and then you can hit the sit route after that. So whatever formation we get to, it works out in the same way. All right. See what we got. A little video here. Like I said, I'm still working through this remote here, so cut me a little slack right here. Here's the other thing. Always five-man protection. Okay, so anybody that wants to, who runs up tempo? I mean, like fastball. Who doesn't run fastball? One? Really? Never. So here's my thoughts on tempo. All right, tempo is, you know, if you're fast all the time, defenses love it. If you're slow all the time, defenses love it. If you vary it, defenses get pissed. So to me, it's about, you know, just doing different things. So I will go really, really, really slow, and our offense is comfortable with that. Sometimes if you're like up-tempo all the time and you got to get into like a 4-minute situation, the offense goes, oh, no. And they 3-and-out and punt, okay? So, you know, sometimes if you're slow all the time and you got to do 2-minute, they're like, oh, no. And they're not very good at it. You know what I mean? So to me, the best approach is to be able to do all that. So I'm either fast, like fastball stuff, and you can see this right here. This is a fastball play because it's 5-man protection. So you see the ref getting out of there right there? That to me is critical. That's snapping the ball when we need to snap the ball. Okay, so if I'm go, 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 we're going to snap that thing as fast as we possibly can. If I sub, we're always going to huddle. Okay, I may huddle with everybody. I may sugar huddle it, but we're always going to huddle. And then once we break that huddle, it's either going to be fastball or it's going to be normal. And that's all about the quarterback dictating the tempo and all that stuff. And then we may get on the ball and freeze them or fastball it, or he may get up there and act like he's doing it, and then he may run that clock down to 0. So the defense doesn't ever know exactly what the tempo is going to be. To me, that's 100% critical, and you got to be able to do everything. And if you don't, it's going to get you in the end. All right, so right here, mesh to the left. Mesh to the right. So back offsets. So right here, there's no blitz situation whatsoever. So he doesn't need to look to his hot. So it's all about the back is first. And then underneath shallow. And then the sit route after that. Probably would be better for him to get to the sit route on this, but he's not passing up the shallow based on there being a hole right there. Okay, now the shallow guy, we have changed the shallow guy. I'll get to you in a second. We have changed the shallow guy. The shallow guy used to be just run. Now we teach the shallow guy man zone. We don't teach the mesh anything. The mesh, set it and run. The shallow needs to sit if he's open, he needs to run if he's not. But really, if that guy's not getting the ball about the time he's outside the tackle box, he's really pretty much out of the route anyway. What you got? The shallow guy, okay, so right here, all right, he says no to the back. The blitz guy, the blitz guy is the vertical route that's on the 46-yard line right there. Okay, so there's no blitz, so it's out of his mind. Immediately goes to the back. In the back, we tell it's not a swing route, it's a wheel route. So he runs a swing, but he turns it into a wheel, so he clears it out. And then you go to the shallow right underneath, and then to the sit. And at that point, play's over. And you got to scramble after that. He's just setting it. He knows it's a dummy route. He's got, we usually put the bigger person in that, but he's setting the depth at like 5 yards. He's just clearing everything out. Once he clears everything out, it's up to the other guy to be able to come underneath him. I'm not big, and again, I'm telling you, I sat dummies, and I did the mesh drill for hours upon hours, and sometimes they're clapping hands, sometimes they're rubbing shoulders. I think that's all kind of garbage, honestly. Just have one guy set it, and the other guy needs to work underneath him. So when he's coming underneath, he's coming and he sees the guy setting it. He's going to do different things to kind of set it up. It's his job to stay out of the way. It's that guy's job to clear it, and it's the underneath shallow guy's job to be able to set it up and try to get open. It's good settle and noose drill right here. Does anybody do settle and noose? Anybody know what that is? Yeah. I mean, I spent like 1,000,000 hours with that drill. I got away from that for a little while too. We put that back in probably 2 years ago. That's kind of our pre-practice before run-through deal. It's pretty good. Just settle in between two dummies, and you catch it and you go that way. So it's not a wasted drill. All right, back in. The running backs cheat it a little bit. I try not to get too carried away with it, but probably of the 27 times that we called this, probably 20 of them were fastball. Okay, so if the back cheats it in fastball, they're not gonna see it. If you're slow and the defenders are studying it, then they're probably gonna see it. Decent job of getting upfield right here, though. So they're not allowed to settle until they get to the tackle, the opposite tackle. So I think he's in pretty good shape right here, and then catch and get straight upfield. Okay, so mesh is coming from the right. Okay, so mesh, once again I'm wrong. Mesh is coming from the left. Back is first, not blitz. Okay, so not worried about the Z on the 10 on the bottom of the screen, not worried about that guy based on the fact that there's no blitz. Got a tight end in the game right here, so he's the mesh guy. Again, he's just trying to clear it. So, the DN dropping out, that's a problem when it comes to releasing the tight end. Does a good job of working through it. Sets it at 5. Shallow guy underneath him. So right here, back. Say no to the back. Hit the shallow. Here's another thing, and I don't think you need to overcomplicate this when it comes to, should this guy set up or should he not set up? Right there. I mean, that's a huge conversation piece. Should he settle or shouldn't he settle? So based on the fact that I'm really not teaching that guy to slap hands or rub shoulders or any of that stuff, he's just going to come underneath him, okay? So he's setting it right there. He sees the guy. He's going to work underneath him. Eyes go back. He's already checked out the flat. Is it open? Is it not open? He goes back right here. He's like, in his mind, he's going, okay, there's grass. I'm going to settle. Or it's man coverage. I'm going to run. Well, when you peek back there, if that quarterback's kind of starting to cock a little bit, just keep doing what you're doing. Okay? If you get into that point right there and the quarterback's like moving around the pocket because he's got a dude in his face or whatever it is, then you can throw the brakes on. Just be very, very, very decisive when it comes to that. But that's huge. Should he settle? Shouldn't he settle? Well, I don't know you got to let those guys play a little bit too. But I think he's good. I love the fact that he's looking for the ball. And again, that was one of the bigger problems I had with this play. When they were trying to rub shoulders or slap hands, their eyes would not be on the quarterback. And your eyes got to be on the quarterback because that's a quick read. So that ball is coming quick. Okay, another fastball here. All right, so tight end. Again, he's in an off position right here, but we can still run it from there. That was one of our biggest run sets that we wanted for this game. Back to the right. This is a blitz situation right here. Initially, pre-snap, he would probably be going to the X. He'd probably be going to the X right here. This is a 4th and 3 play. Okay, so if this was a 1st and 10 play, he sees that defense with no deep safety, man coverage, he'd be hitting that X all day long. Okay, on the bottom of the screen. 4th and 3, what's the percentage that's completed? It ain't high. Okay, it's not high, so he needs a higher percentage throw. So he's saying no to that. And he's gonna just go through his progression. So back is 1. They got it covered. The mesh guy does a great job right here. If they want to bang, bang. I mean, you're not in the route, man. So if you need to take out 2 or 3 of them, take out 2 or 3 of them. And then it's all about the underneath guy. I think the shallow underneath guy could probably do a little bit better job of rubbing that. Obviously, the defender does a good job of understanding its mesh, man coverage, jumping it. Does a good job of bodying them, but that's a higher percentage pass than what it would be with the X. Really like what the tight end's doing right here. Just get through it. You're not in the progression, man, so don't worry about it. Yep. We've told him a lot of things. You see where that referee's sitting right there? He's at what, like 8 yards? Those guys used to sit at 5. And a couple of them got blasted. If they're in the way, just run their ass over. They don't like it very much, but they get out of the way. So the same thing goes for the defenders. If they're there, just take them all out because they're not that's the difference in how we coached it 15 years ago and how we're coaching it now, is just take people out because you're not in the progression. There's a 0% chance you get it unless that quarterback ends up scrambling to you. Okay, so just take whatever out, take it all out. The more you can take out, the better. Now, if that's the middle linebacker, the umpire, or the defender that's covering the shallow. I don't care who it is. So I really haven't seen that called. Now, if that guy just leaves his feet and takes him out, probably going to get called. But if you're just running through it, I haven't seen it get called. Okay, zone coverage. It's going back. Back's first. That's a no. Boom, shallow guy. So now this is a good clip right here. You see how the dude's drifting? And he ain't happy about it. He about hit me with the ball right there. He ain't happy about it, but that's his own fault. Okay, so like right here, I like where his eyes are right now. He should see grass. He should see grass. He should be sitting right there. That's pretty much his fault right there. Don't be indecisive when it comes to that. He's drifting way too much. It's a little deeper than we used to coach it. Okay, so we used to coach it just fast and flat and just go no matter what. We don't do that anymore. Okay, so a shallow route is you got more flexibility. If it's man, you can staircase it and snap it off. If it's zone, just go, okay? And then once you get to the outside of the tackle, then you can either sit it up or you can keep going. It's your decision. So we do teach it differently. It's a different play. Okay, right here, pretty much the same thing. Again, this is so this right here, it's a tight end set. This used to be ace, and then it turned into left, and now it's like left rip, because that's a tight end up top. But we wanted them kind of stood up and flexed out. Anytime it's 11 personnel, it gets tricky calling it. But that's a tight end, and obviously we wanted those bigger bodies into the boundaries, set in the mesh, so the fast skill kid can come underneath them. So right here, we don't need a hot. So back is first. Underneath mesh, shallow route is second. Sit route is third. And a lot of times these sit routes are open. I don't necessarily like them in man coverage. You shouldn't really get off. If they pass it off and they cover the back, then you're probably not going to, hit that back if you can, and then it's the underneath shallow guy. Had a good group of offensive players, really did. That left tackle right there is probably a second-round pick. He's a Senior Bowl guy. Quarterback's obviously in the Senior Bowl. The tight end is in the Senior Bowl. The number 12 right here is in the Senior Bowl. That's catching it. And then 13, the wideout Sills is there as well. So had a pretty good group. Okay, different set, squeezed them. Got a lot of this stuff from the Rams. If you study the Rams, a lot of that stuff they do in squeeze alignments that condense everything down. It gives defenses problems, So we'll either squeeze it or tight it. So the tight formations are all guys that are really squeezed down. But there's really a reason to be able to just take your normal splits and bring them together, not stack. Okay, stack's a whole nother animal, a whole nother conversation. But squeezing them to where they're about 3 yards apart for man coverage purposes, that's really, really, really good. The tight alignments right here I think is really good in the run game. It's really good for RPOs, and it's really good for these mesh routes. It's right there again, mesh to the right. There's no issues, so you don't need to go to 13 on a vertical route. So it's all about the back, number one. And that's not the easiest throw in the world. You know, I mean, you got to rep that right there. So you really want those backs to stretch it. Try to stretch it to the numbers, but work upfield as well. So like right here, if you look at this tight end, the off tight end right here, if he would attack the guy that's covering the 86, the other tight end, 88, probably would get called. So I kind of like what he's doing right there, just as far as kind of just giving him a little shimmy right there and then not making contact. You can get creative with this stuff. You know, this game here, the tight end trips stuff really gave these guys problems. So we're in this set a lot. But I'd also motion this guy over. I'll tell you another thing. How much motion? Who does motion? Like quick stuff. Has anybody ever like quicked it and freeze them? That works like 90% of the time. Okay, now you can't do it a lot, but if you need a play like on, you know, a critical play, if you're motioning guys and you're quicking them and you bring them right there and then you time all that stuff up, if you freeze them in that situation right there, you probably get a first down. Then you can throw it deep and score. So right here, it kind of changes it takes a hot out of it. It takes the hot out of it, okay? But if you bring this guy in motion right here, from a quarterback's perspective, he just got to understand your hot's out, okay? So that's get it out of your mind. Okay, your hot is the quick, okay? So that's gone. So just read out mesh. It's back, it's underneath shallow, and it's sit based on what you got going on. But right there, you talk about passing this off for the defenders. You know, trying to get the defenses that can cover the back are really good defenses now. I mean, if they're a man coverage team and you're going to always account for that guy, you got to get a little bit creative with it. So quads is tough. The other thing's really tough is pistol. You put that dude in pistol, the defenses lose that guy all the time. Especially if there's two backers right there, they don't know who's got him and stuff like that. So you can get creative when it comes to covering that back. So right there, you know, backs one, looks pretty good. Put it on him. I have a hard time watching these Oklahoma schools, honestly. They both got us at the end of the year. We had a pretty good year. We were in the conversation all year long. They both got us. They both got us by 3. It's tough. Okay, here's Syracuse. This is the bowl game. Here's 1 out of C. So again, it's like Syracuse, like watching them, their big man coverage team, they were extremely disciplined with what they did. They never allowed the back to get the ball. So we had to get somewhat creative when it came to doing this. 12 personnel, 2 tight ends to the right, to the left side. So that's the mesh side. So back's going to release to the quarterback's right. There's really no blitz situations here. So the shallow is coming from the quarterback's left. But because that guy's in C, it's a problem for him. Now this is zone, okay? So, but you know, don't pass up the back. Don't pass up the back. All right, so right there, if the corner would have passed it off quicker and went down, and he'd come shallow, and he'd probably say, he may put that on him. But that sits really good in zone. If you're getting a lot of zone, that sits a really good option. I tell you, these guys, if you look at, a lot of times the back turns into a lead blocker if you throw it to the shallow, and the shallow turns into a lead blocker if you throw it to the back. Same set. At the zone, corner does a really bad job here. So if the corner reads this, if he reads it out, that's really good by the tight end. The tight end that's on the line of scrimmage. Good release, clear it out. So if the corner falls off on that back, you're going to be able to dump it underneath. That'll score 2. So this is fastball, okay? So it's my favorite way to do it because when it's fastball, then they're not gonna cover the back most of the time, and it gets the quarterback's eyes on the back right now. Okay, good hot look right here. Safeties are down, all right? Blitz. This is, I can't take credit for what the quarterback's doing right here. This is just like pretty special and instinctive and all that. It's a bad snap. Ends up getting it, but he knows where his go-to is. If he's waiting on, he can't look at the back. You know, good thing, if he just goes through his progression right here, he's going to get caught with the ball. Okay? And I don't like what the inside receiver at the top left hash is doing. He's staircasing that way too much. Ain't got time for that. He should understand blitz as well. Blitz, look, man, we're going to probably get to you real quick. So I don't like what the inside receiver is doing up top. But quarterback obviously makes a good play. Just gives the guy a chance. I don't like the read right here. This is 2nd and 10. I don't like the read at all. That's not a threatening defense. Okay, so you know this is one of those things that you really just can't coach. I mean, if those guys got look. I mean, Will and number 13 Sills. Those guys had a deal to where they would just kind of look at each other and wink, and they'd know exactly what they're doing and stuff. I can't coach that. That's just them. Like just being best friends and hanging out for like 3 straight years and all that stuff right there. But I don't like this read. Okay, he should probably be off that hot right now. Look at the back. Don't got the back. What are you gonna have? Got that shallow. That shallow should be thrown right now. It should be thrown right now, and that guy's gonna turn the corner. Okay, so, but threw it, caught it, everybody's happy. And then there's the back shoulder conversation. Anybody know how to coach the back shoulder? I don't. Again, that's just backyard playing ball. All that stuff, All right, here's a good little mix-up. Okay, so quads. Okay, again, you saw this with the motion a minute ago. So the motion takes care of the hot. All right, so you're not going to have something when it comes to this right here. We actually, like this one right here, we didn't have the shallow, which is a problem. Okay, but it's a deal that we quads them into the boundary. You're going to watch Coach Patterson, who I think is an awesome defensive football coach, a great guy, hikes his pants up every play. It's hilarious. But We just quads them into the boundary. It was going to cause him problems. Okay, so this was just kind of one of the special plays right here where you have the hot to the left. Okay, so if they blitz it, boom, you got an out. And then it's about reading the wheel route to the back. Okay, so it's all about the wheel to the back. They forgot to cover the wheel. Tight end is a talented kid now. 6'5", 270, can run and catch. Look at my man right there on the right of the screen. He's like, what are you doing? Why ain't you covering that guy? He's a beauty. Oh, yeah, then we got into the return routes. Okay, so that's really good in man coverage. If you're coming in, you know, and they just start playing over the top of everything, then you can return them back out. So the mesh becomes the shallow, and the shallow becomes the mesh. Okay, so, you know, really we're going to just, you know, the progression with the quarterback's the same. He's back first. His hot's at the bottom of the screen. Don't need a hot. Don't need a hot. So the back is first. Okay, don't like the back. And then he's coming to the shallow, which was the mesh guy, but now it's the shallow guy.